Hey guys, oh, sorry, one sec. Hey guys, it's CWillyHD here, and welcome back to Game Breakers. And more importantly, welcome back to the island of, we're finally continuing our Animal Crossing New Horizons glitch series. The show that showcases old and new glitches from the game as we play through the 1.0.0 version. This means the bugs and glitches you see during this video aren't possible anymore, but I still wanted to try them out for myself and document them. If you missed the first one, I'd highly recommend checking it out as it's us starting the whole thing. But here's a quick recap for everyone since it's been a few months. Last time, we started our island journey with Kambara and Mac, created an underground lantern duplication business, and after collecting over 2,000, sold them all to make a clean 1,000,000 bells. Kambara and I also replaced our tents with real houses, and I'm happy to report that Mac finally did too. Now we can stop ripping holes in his tent from doing jumping jacks in the middle of the night. But anyway, we have a lot to get done in this episode and some water to walk on, so let's get started. So, during our first episode, we neglected a lot of the actual introductory stuff and story progression, so let's get a move on that. I went to the resident services tent and Timmy brought up the idea of building their very own shop. This will be really helpful for us to build as we can get more item options every day, meaning more glitches. So, he claims he needs 30 pieces of each wood and iron nuggets. So I grabbed my axe and started whacking every tree I could find. Sahara decided to stop by the island as well, so I ended up buying a new rug and some new random wallpaper and flooring for the house. I ended up getting a pretty sweet animated mountain range in a dirt field that matched pretty well. So I guess we're rocking with an outdoorsy theme for now. I spiced it up with the only decorations I own, and with the new rug, it came along pretty nicely. Tom Nook mentioned earlier that he wanted me to donate anything I found, so I did just that to start the museum building tasks. In return, Tom gave me a Pokedex, and after donating 4 more creatures, one at a time, he got a phone call from Blathers that he wanted to move onto the island. I'm not really sure if I want to complete the museum yet, as there's really not a point, but it's still a good building to have on the island, so I'll definitely donate enough to build the full thing, and I might just leave it alone after that. Sorry Blathers, you might have to find some creatures on yourself for once. Shortly after, Kambara gave me my first shovel so I could finally hit rocks and collect the iron and stone, which we'll not only need for the store, but for a glitch coming up in a little bit. I planted 10,000 bells in the ground like any financially responsible person and made a beautiful bulletin board post to keep everyone's morale high. Beautiful. I made the decision for Kambara that she would love to have the museum directly behind her house, so after a little finagling, I plotted the land so that she could have it overrun her backyard. I think she's going to be a big fan of my decision. I kept gathering materials for the store, but while I was redeeming some Nook miles, I noticed I completely screwed up the dates from the first episode, and now I'm playing in 2019 instead of 2020. New Horizons came out in early 2020, so I guess we're on that early release build of the game now. I might travel back up a year, but I don't want to leave the island in the hands of Kambara and Mac for an entire year, so I'll figure something else out later. I scooped up the Pretty Good Tools DIY book so I had access to better tools to help further finish the store. When I ran out of trees and rocks to hit with my tools, I decided to hit the airport for the first time and fly to a mystery island. It had plenty of rocks and trees to complete the shop, but it also had a villager, Patty, visiting. I wasn't planning on inviting her to join the island until I realized her catchphrase was, "How now?" So I had to let her come back with me. Patty was pretty hesitant when I brought it up too, but after she watched me rip an entire palm tree out of the ground with nothing but a shovel and shove it into my pocket, she quickly had a change of heart. With some flowers, wood, iron, and the promise that Patty's coming, I flew back home. Back on I spoke with Tommy. I spoke with Timmy and donated all the materials required to get the shop going, so he let me be in charge of the location of it. Oh, you're gonna regret that, my little raccoon friend. Blather set up his tent, so I paid him a visit to donate the rest of the stuff I had so far. While I was there, he gave me the recipe for the vaulting pole, meaning I could finally cross the river. This also gave us access to even more of the island, so we have more trees, rocks, and pits to use. While exploring this new area, I came up with an amazing idea. Place the shop on this side of the island so no one else has access to it. I don't really think Kambara and Mac know how to swim, and I don't have any bridges built yet, so I guess I have my own private shopping center for a while. I also purposely placed it really close to the water so that the rest of the town will be able to see the shop, but not actually get there. To keep up with all the construction and new buildings, I decided to pay off my loan and upgrade my house. That's right, 2 episodes and 2 house upgrades. So I guess this means I have to upgrade my house now every single episode, which is doable, but I'm not sure how long I'll be able to keep that up. For now though, I got an expanded room, chose aqua as my roof color, and went on my way. I continued the day by gathering some more resources since I just lost a good chunk of them for the shop, and also fished some more in order to finish the museum. After a few more fish and fossils, I reached enough unique creatures for Blathers to build the real museum. Moving on to the next day, I had a lot to look forward to. Completion of the shop, the museum going under construction, and my brand new house. Let's check out the house first. My room's definitely gotten a lot bigger, which means it was time to redecorate a little again, as well as redecorate myself with some of the Nook Ink collection. I ordered some new clothes yesterday, so now I have a little different look. Now that the shop's built, you can see just how close I actually put it. It looks like it's right behind the town square, but there's a big river, so good luck getting over. It seems like Tom Nook isn't taking the shop too well either. Ever since his son's left, he's picked up golfing as a replacement. Now that we have the shop though, we're able to pick up some more DIY recipes. The DIY for beginners set is what I had my eye on, as it gives us access to the all-powerful stone stool. We need a 1x1 seat for a glitch that I'm featuring in this episode, so now that we have the stone stool, we can get started. So the glitch I want to do today is getting out of bounds and walking on water. Using a 1x1 seat and a shell, you're able to clip through the ground and walk around on the ocean. So, how do we do it? Well, it's slightly harder than it looks. We need a shell basically inside the front of the stool. However, you can't just place a shell and a stool down. You aren't able to push the one close enough for this glitch to work, so a shell will have to spawn on top of an already existing stool, meaning you have to get lucky enough for a shell to spawn on the same exact tile as the stool. This is more of a pain than it looks. So since it comes down to luck on whether or not a shell is on a certain tile, the more stools we make, the better our chances. I don't know why both episodes have now involved us getting a bunch of a single item, but I promise we aren't going to craft 2,000 stools. I think I only made roughly 20 to 25 in total. I could definitely have made more to increase my chances, but I didn't want to spend hours grinding for rock, so I just got by with what I had. After crafting them all, I began placing them down along the shores as close as I could to the water. I tried to spread them out across my entire island, even though that doesn't technically increase my chances of getting the right shell to spawn. I'll explain why I did though in a second. After placing down all my stools and pushing them as close as I could to the water, I collected all the remaining shells on my island. So how shells work is new ones spawn every 30 minutes in game. But if there's already a bunch on the beach, more won't spawn. So after collecting all the shells, I went ahead and time traveled an hour forward. This way, a good amount of new shells would have filled the beaches and hopefully one under one of my stools. If there wasn't any to use the glitch with, I collected all the shells and time traveled an hour forward again. Well, I guess now we're incorporating another thing from a previous video I did. Time traveling was a video I just made a video on, but that wasn't intentional either. In order to time travel in this game, I simply hit the home button while playing, set it ahead an hour, go back on the game, save, quit, and reload. It does take a little bit of time, but I couldn't really get the clock to skip ahead without reloading the game. Anyway, I kept repeating this process, and after about 15 hours of skipping, I finally got a shell under one. This is what you want in order to activate the glitch. I got one on a stool on the bottom of my island, but I'm positive it works on the sides as well. Anyway, what do we do now? Simply hop onto the stool and your character will do this. For some reason, the shell causes you to just fall inside of the stool, allowing you to walk right onto the ocean and out of bounds. There's a little drop off, but then you're free to run around anywhere. You can mess around at the airport and seaplane, or run up so high your marker goes this far off the minimap. The first thing I was hoping I could do was fish, but unfortunately your tools don't really work out here. There's nothing really to interact with, so stuff like a shovel and axe won't do much either. But there actually is one tool that technically does function. The slingshot. Although we're literally walking on water, so any balloons that you do shoot down will just sploosh on in there, I became really fascinated with how they work. So welcome to the little segment of what happens to the balloon when it floats too far away from the island. Working title. I began by running up and down the sea waiting for one to spawn. I eventually heard the gusts of wind and found one floating to the other side of the island. So I kept a close eye on it as it made its way across, as I ultimately wanted to see what would happen after I got out of the normal player's view. Would it float all the way off the screen even with the boundaries we have? Or does it just poof out of existence? Well, I followed it out into the ocean, still keeping it spawned in, but when I reached the player boundary, all I could do was watch. Sure enough though, the balloon just vanished right when it reached the same boundary I did. This is personally what I was hoping would happen, as it's just neat to see. So I guess this also means that balloons just pop up when they spawn in, which is what I wanted to see happen now. But I realized the chances of actually catching one and being in the right place at the right time would be pretty difficult. So, using the power of high-tech video editing software, we can see a good example of what we would have saw. Lovely. Anyway, that concludes our unnecessary segment of what happens to balloons. Let's get into our next one and a classic on the channel, punching fish. Okay, for real though, what else can we do with this glitch? Well, not a whole lot. We're pretty limited actually, as there's boundaries all the way out here in the ocean to still stop the player, and you can't really get back up on shore. I guess there's a two-sided barrier we clip out from using the stool, so we're kind of stuck out here now. There are some points near the rocks that you can get right up next to, but even after placing items near those edges, I still couldn't reach them. So once you're done, we have to call the rescue service. If you didn't know, they can pick you up if you're stuck anywhere on the island and drop you off in front of any major building. While we're not technically stuck on the island, they can still scoop us up from the ocean. I guess you could also save and reload the game, but I wanted to keep playing, and I don't think I've ever really used the rescue service legitimately on my real island, so I wanted to mess around with it. Now that I have the chance to clip out again, I decided to try clipping out, but not all the way. Remember how there's that little drop off your character goes through when walking out? Well, there's a small little intermediate gap between being inbounds and fully out. If you walk slowly out of the stool, you can walk along the shoreline and get a few interesting things to happen. My legs were a tad screwed up here, and I had a lot of fun just spinning in circles going up and down. There's a good amount of leeway with clipping back inbounds, and you can tell if you're about to fall out if you sink low enough, so I was able to walk to the airport in this state and access a little more than I could earlier. Going to the right didn't really have much to talk about. As I reached this set of rocks, it pushed me out of bounds. So that's pretty much it for the uses you can get out of this glitch though. I plan on keeping the shell here so I can clip out when Oops. Yeah, I accidentally picked it up, but I managed to close my game before the autosave kicked in, so we still have it. I want to try and place a building or something out here eventually, but we'll have to wait for that. I'm committed to finding something that can actually be placed out here, as I think it'd be pretty funny, but I need more time to test that stuff. While I was restarting my game, I noticed Gulliver stopped by to pay us a visit, and lucky for us, he landed pretty close to some of our stools. I'm not really sure if he can actually spawn inside one of the stools, as that wouldn't really make much sense, but he was close enough that I was able to hop on the stool and into his head for a moment before being pushed out. Just a cool little side effect of this glitch I thought was interesting. But after collecting his 5 communicator parts and saving his life, I decided to call it a day on our second episode. So today's glitch wasn't technically as useful as last time we made a million bells. However, there was a lot of early game grinding I had to get done, so accomplishing the museum and shop being built should hopefully make up for that. If you guys have any glitches you want to see in this, let me know in the comments. Again, I'm on the 1.0.0 original release for this game, so I can still do glitches that have been patched out, so really anything goes. Besides, I guess, new ones that involve new items from an update or something. But I'm really looking forward to continuing this series and showcasing more crazy stuff I can do on my island. But for now, I'm gonna get up out of here. Thank you guys so much for watching, and as always, see ya!